Zed, what do you make of DeRosa's resignation? Is this writing on the wall that this is over for Cuomo?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I think people who follow this know DeRosa as someone who's like fiercely loyal to Cuomo, is quite aggressive on behalf of him. If she's departing, it does kind of send a signal or a sign. I also think that what we just played here in terms of a criminal complaint being filed and the sheriff kind of indicating that this is going to follow a normal kind of legal or policing process, there is actually a possibility that Governor Cuomo could be arrested and prosecuted. I mean, this is a serious territory for Cuomo, someone who I think believed himself to be basically invincible when it comes to this issue, and his family has certainly been heralded in New York as almost royalty. For those who think it's not possible that he would be prosecuted, I would point you to examples like Rod Blagojevich, who's governor of Illinois, who was prosecuted. Bob McDonnell was prosecuted, was later dropped, but it is something that can happen even to a high official in this case. And what's interesting is I don't think we mentioned it yet, but David Suarez, who was the prosecutor, the DA for Albany, was asked about this, and he didn't shoot it down. He was sort of like, yeah, the sheriff has done that, and we maybe end up taking a look at it, basically. So yeah, I do think if I was in Cuomo, I'd be feeling the heat now. And I think another relevant fact is that actually, when you look at polling on Cuomo now, he actually has lost the support of the majority of his party, which I don't think was the case before, but it was the case in the past couple of weeks. So it is definitely a tougher moment for him, and it may signal greater consequence.
We need to continue our impeachment so we can get to the truth about whether he was motivated to defraud the public to chase down a $5.1 million book deal. That's what the timeline reflects, and the public deserves the truth. It would be a disservice to the taxpayers and the public, because we already spent so much time, money, and resources, their money, not our money, to do the work. So let's impeach and let's get to the accountability that we deserve.
That $5.1 million does really add another layer of corruption to this scandal, because the cover-up of the nursing home deaths was horrific in its own right. But if it can be shown that the cover-up also had the goal of keeping his approval rating on the pandemic high enough so that he could cash in on that book deal, is there some sort of criminal implication here, Assemblyman?
Well, that's up to the U.S. Attorney and the FBI to determine. But it is my humble opinion, based on what Andrew Cuomo has said himself, that when you lie about life and death data, it should be considered criminal fraud. And he did that in his public platform. He not only directed the Department of Health to deflate the numbers, but he took the suppressed data, put it in his book, and held it up at press conferences, making it seem like, whoa, New York is not that bad compared to other states for months. Now, what this did was it took away our ability to legislate. If we don't have real-time data, how could we actually resolve the problems in front of us?
According to Ronan Farrow, Cuomo reached out to Valerie Jarrett about the Moreland Commission. Farrow says the move concerned officials enough that they reported it to the DOJ. Now, essentially what happened here is that there was a commission called the Moreland Commission that was investigating corruption in New York. Once it got too close to Cuomo shut the commission down. An extraordinary move. Preet Bharara then said that he was going to look into Cuomo's decision to shut down the Moreland Commission. That's what triggered Cuomo's call to the White House, which triggered then the White House telling the DOJ, which everybody sat on for 7 years until we learn about it right now. Do you think that this could become another article of impeachment?
It very well may be. I would just note, by the way, that almost any time these major stories around sexual misconduct, but other abuses of power ignored by much of the mainstream media, Ronan Farrow just has his finger on the pulse of what's actually happening. So I give him major kudos for finding this. But you will remember that just a couple days ago, Cuomo's attorneys put out a statement that I want to say mentioned Preet Bharara more than a dozen times in one paragraph. He is extremely afraid of what what potential charges he could be facing within the state of New York. This could certainly potentially be an additional impeachment article, but I would say this, taking a step back with Cuomo, you've got a couple of different things here. You've got, of course, the egregious examples of sexual misconduct and harassment. You've also got, which, Assemblyman Ron Kim has continued to fight on, the nursing home scandal, that more than 10,000 senior citizens in New York died in nursing homes because they were co-located with COVID patients. And then on top of this, you have what looks like undue influence peddling and trying to get a potential investigation into him stopped by the Barack Obama White House, which rightfully they did not do. So I think this could in some ways be the tip of the spear in what has been a reckless administration under Governor Cuomo. I've said it many times before. This is a man who thinks he's invincible.
Right.
He's flown too close to the sun, and I think that, the walls are starting to close in around him. What's your prediction?
What's so frustrating is that, I've been covering, and you've been watching, I'm sure, Cuomo's corruption for a very long time. It's an open secret. I've been covering his corruption for a very, very long time. The Moreland Commission scandal was one of the most egregious I've ever seen. And it happened in broad daylight. Commission set up to investigate corruption, starts to find corruption. The corrupt governor shuts it down before it can get to his donors. And what's frustrating is that, so in this Ronan Farrow article, Kathleen Rice, who's now a congresswoman who represents Long Island, talks publicly about the fact that they started to look into some of Cuomo's big money, dark money donors, and that every layer, as she says, every layer of the onion that they peeled back, he was behind it. Well, thank you for sharing that in August of 2021, Representative Rice. Genuinely appreciate you going on the record. Where were you 7 years ago? There was this extraordinary silence from everyone in the New York political system that enabled this corruption, and it was a silence driven by cowardice and fear. And I think the New York media also deserves a significant amount of criticism in the way that they approached Cuomo over his tenure.